Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal, and I'm here today with Bruce McCurdy. Welcome, Bruce.
Hey, David. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
A lot better today than I was yesterday. That was a rough day yesterday. But
Yeah, you were sick yesterday, right?
I was pretty sick, but I managed to tough it out for the podcast. I had to crawl all the way over here to my office to do it. That's the fun part of this, is that there's no studios involved. We can just do it from the comfort of our own homes and have a face to face and have a little chat about the game. So let's do that about today's game.
The wonders of modern technology. It really is nice. It's so much easier. And as we get used to the podcasting technology, I don't know how it sounds. Like, we've struggled with the sound of this thing, Bruce, but I think it sounds okay. Maybe our listeners will have a different opinion of that, but I think we're getting the hang of it. So let's do our two good things, two bad things, and two numbers podcast about Edmonton's 2-1 overtime win over the Chicago Blackhawks. The Oilers are now 6 wins and 4 losses in October. One of the losses came in overtime. So, Bruce, they're in an 8-team division. They're now in second. I just checked. In the old 6-team league, this would put you in the Stanley Cup final, being in the top 2. This is an 8-team division, and that's not bad. That's pretty darn good, especially considering the schedule that the Oilers have had. And I actually thought it was a fairly convincing win tonight. Bruce, let's start with your good thing, though. What was the good thing?
It had to be the overtime, and it had to be. McDavid and Draisaitl 3-on-3 are just so magic to watch. I don't know how many games they've broken up in overtimes over the past time that they've been together, but I know it's more than 10. And it's, they're already a couple this year. They had, 4 or 5, or the two of them. One would pass to the other and he'd score in overtime. That's happened. And today's game was especially sweet. Now, cast your mind back to I think it was December 29th, and the Hawks came into Edmonton. And they went to overtime, and Patrick Kane made Leon Draisaitl look foolish, and he deked Cam Talbot, and he scored, and everybody was getting on Leon's case a little bit. And Patrick Kane has made a few other guys look foolish over his 11, now 12 years in the NHL, but on that night, it was Leon who looked foolish. Well, tonight, the tables were kind of turned because, first of all, Chicago got a rush. McDavid cut the side off, laid the body on him. The puck went into the corner. Kane had it briefly on his stick, and Leon came in and checked and swept the puck off, and he was gone. And it was a 3-on-1. And, of course, down he goes 150 feet, and then he lays that beautiful saucer pass in the air and down on the ice, right on McDavid's stick, and wham, in the net she goes. And a beautiful ending to what was otherwise a pretty ugly hockey game. But a moment like that made the game worth watching.
They remind me of Gretzky and Lemieux in 1987 Canada Cup, in 3-on-3 at least. Not at even strength, but there's just something about it. They're just money in the bank. Going up the ice, you just know that one's going to pass to the other, and they're almost certainly going to. It's like a 50% shot. Half the time they're going to score. That's pretty darn good, and it is extremely exciting. And what I've noticed with Draisaitl in the last few games is he finally seems at home again at center.
Yeah,
and maybe
it's finding his game, isn't he?
Yeah, maybe it's the wingers changing up. Maybe he's got the right wingers, or maybe it's just him figuring it out. But he's looked really, really strong as a two-way hockey player. So my good thing, Bruce, is just the Oilers' top 4 defense. Klefbom and Larsson are playing exceptional hockey right now. I think they're actually looking like, it looks like the Oilers have a top pairing defense.
It really does.
Partnership. They're getting the job done, and Nurse and Russell aren't far behind. They are also strong. Like it's just kind of. Of course, I'm like sitting on the edge of my seat waiting for the next injury, right? Like that's always the thing with defensemen. They're always getting hurt and banged up. But as long as, if those 4 guys can stay healthy this year, and that's a huge if, the Oilers, they've got 2 defense pairings. They can compete against tough competition in the NHL. They had that last in 2016-17. They didn't have it at all last year, mainly due to injury.
Yep.
To Sekera, Klefbom, and Larsson.
Yeah.
And Larsson's personal, issues with his father passing away. So it's just so satisfying to see the hockey from these players that we thought we were going to see last year, to see it now. I mean, Russell was good last year. He's the same player as he was, but they're all doing well. And Nurse was thrust into that top pairing role last year, and he started to really leak scoring chances against by the end of the year. But he's doing better now too. So that's my good thing, is that top four came to the fore tonight and has been good for some time. So your bad thing, Bruce?
Well, that was the rest of the game. Like, I love the overtime. The 60-minute game that preceded it was excruciating, frankly. There was the ice in United Center, to my fairly experienced eye, seemed to be terrible. And I guess they had a big rock concert, Elton John concert in there last night. And they put the ice back in, and the two teams flew in from other cities. Chicago played in St. Louis last night. Edmonton played in Nashville yesterday afternoon. And it was just so scrambly, David, the game. The checking was fierce. Like, let's give credit for that. But it seemed like not one time could a pass be made into a telling area, or could a shot get through without a stick getting on it, or the puck bouncing over someone's stick, or somebody misfiring, or it was just, it was not pretty hockey. And it wasn't pretty hockey for most of the 60 minutes. The Oilers were lucky that they got a goal on a very unpretty play, just a one face-off and a puck dumped in on the net from the point, and a couple of guys banging around in front of the net, and one of them popped her home, But it wasn't exactly a thing of beauty.
When you're coaching your team, when you're coaching and you get a goal like that, it's just like, that is hockey, like gritty goal in front of the net.
I yelled when it went in, just like the other ones, but it wasn't a pretty game, and I was very frustrated by the refereeing in this game. I thought it was it was our good old friends Eric Furlat and Tim Peel. Apparently, the Oilers have a 32% win rate when Tim Peel is the ref. This is something I learned tonight, and he's got a bit of a rep. But there was just strange calls, and I mean, Leon got a call for tapping a guy's stick, and then somebody carved him on the wrist a period later, and that was fine. And Edmonton had 2 power plays all game, and both of them were ended prematurely by Edmonton penalties. So that part was really frustrating. But that was a small part of it. It just really wasn't a pretty game to watch. I see by your scoring chances, Edmonton seemed to be in better control than I could tell from the shots data, which was 13-7 in the second and 15-9 in the third, both in favor of Chicago. And they were really coming on, and Edmonton was struggling to escape their zone at times. But I guess they weren't giving up shots from the grade A territory. But Talbot, I think he stole that game for Oilers.
Yeah, there was a number of close to being A chances, like Kane broke in down the wing late in the game. But he was shooting from an angle there, and that's, according to our definition, Talbot should make that save, and he did. There was probably 4 or 5 chances from Chicago that were close to being A chances, but they only had in the second period they had 5, I believe, and in the third period they didn't get 1
out of 15 shots. That's quite amazing.
Yeah, good for the Oilers, and I think that's the top 4D that I was talking about.
Yep, no doubt.
Yeah, so I knew the score before I watched the game, Bruce. So that always changes things in your perception of it. So I was just kind of relaxed.
You were able to relax a lot more than I was.
Yeah, I was more happy watching that game. I didn't hate that game. I was thinking, we're going to win somehow. I don't know how it's going to happen, but I didn't know exactly. I knew it was in overtime, and then I had an idea what was going to happen, that it was going to be Draisaitl and McDavid, but I didn't know if it was going to be if I was going to see some more goals or not. So, but I was pretty cool. So Bruce, when I had a hard time actually thinking of a bad thing in this game, because it seemed like everything's clicking. The third line's good. The fourth line actually had a better game. Second line, the first line, the all three defense pairings, Talbot. I mean, what's not to like from that game? So I was struggling, and there is something though that I don't like, and I mean, I don't like the handling of Puljujärvi. It's bothering me. I don't want to talk about that though, but it's bothering me partly because I don't quite understand, Bruce, why Kyler Yamamoto is held in such esteem, evidently on the team, and Puljujärvi isn't. I think Puljujärvi is a better player right now than Yamamoto, and I don't see a lot of really strong plays from Kyler Yamamoto right now. I see, if it was Puljujärvi making the same plays, I could see them saying, well, he's giving the puck away in his own zone, and he's coming close to costing the games. He's not doing much on the attack, blah blah blah. So Yamamoto has 2 points in 10 games. Puljujärvi has 1 point in 7 games. So there's not a whole heck of a lot in that regard to choose against them. But I don't understand this hugely positive narrative, at least that I hear around Yamamoto, and the negative one, at least coming from what seems to be the team and team insiders. So that's my negative on the game, and in what was otherwise just a really positive game. So,
well, Yamamoto had 15 minutes playing basically with McDavid and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, so two of the three best forwards on the team. And he had 0 shot attempts in this game. And I mean, one thing I find is I think he's still being a bit deferential to those guys, and certainly it's understandable. But there are times I wish he just put his head down and fire the puck. And, rebounds count, and sometimes original shots go in. There's, sometimes a little bit too fancy. Now, what I do like about Yamamoto's game is his play away from the puck. I think he's a good checker, and he's a diligent checker. He's a great shot blocker. He's got a really good stick. And I'm sure that those are things that the team likes about him. But on that line, you want to see some offense out of the guy, and we're really not seeing very much, as you point out.
On one level, I'd be happy with both of them in the AHL. I mean, when Ty Ratty comes back.
Anything about Ty Ratty? It seems to be a state secret or something.
Yeah, I wonder what's wrong with him, because Ty Ratty I thought was fantastic, at least very good when he was playing earlier this year, and I think I'd like to see him slot in there. And I want both Puljujärvi and Yamamoto to succeed, and I'm just wondering, like, it doesn't look like Yamamoto's ready to me any more than Puljujärvi is. But honestly, I think Puljujärvi's looks like a decent NHL player right now. I'm not sure, like, how did Kassian get back in the lineup before he did? That last game, Bruce, Kassian was horrendous. Puljujärvi was out there on the ice, but he wasn't the one turning the puck over behind the net with no chance of recovering, and not stopping the cross-seam pass in the power play, not winning the board battle where they kept it in and then they quickly scored after that. I mean, Kassian gets back in the lineup. Anyway, I don't want to harp on it because it's
well tonight. I mean,
yes,
with the goal, right? So, I mean, sometimes coaches play hunches, or obviously they see things that that ordinary fans don't, or what have you. But Kassian, I mean, they're in the process of shopping him apparently, so maybe they just want to give other teams the opportunity of seeing him play. Although if he plays too many games like the one you were describing earlier, nobody's going to want that.
He did play well tonight. Give him that.
Yeah, he was good.
What's your stat, Bruce? What's your number?
Oh, I'm going to go with 6-1-1. And this is the Oilers' record since Game 3, which happened to be the time that they promoted Chris Russell from third pairing to second pairing. And Matt Benning had been the second pair defenseman for the first 2 games, and the Oilers got smoked 5-2 and 4-1. And since then, they've only lost 1 game, and the top 4 defense, as you pointed out earlier, really has come around and been pretty reliable. Now, Russell, as a left-shooting right defenseman, he leaves things to be desired, and there are things about his game that some people don't like and other people, frankly, hate. But he's reliable in many senses of the word, and he's not a guy, his experience serves him well. And, he may not be the best number 4 defenseman in the league, but he's not going to kill you in that position. And that's really what, and Also, I think his game has changed a little bit under Trent Yanni. I think he's getting a little more aggressive at the blue line, and he's doing some okay things in the offensive zone. And I mean, to me, he's the number four of the four. But in recent games, to me, he's been the one carrying Nurse a little bit on that second pairing. The last 2 or 3 games, I think Darnell's kind of leveled out a little bit, and uh, Russell has been he's just been solid. And for obviously that's not the only factor that's changed 0-2 to 6-1-1, but it's a definitive change that happened at the beginning of Game 3. And since then, the Oilers have been stronger defensively. Their goals against average has gone way down, except for the Pittsburgh game. And and Pittsburgh went on to absolutely smoke Calgary and Vancouver on the same road trip. I mean, that's a potent club there that beat Oilers 6-5 in overtime. And otherwise, the Oil have been keeping the other teams to 3 or less, and often 2 or less.
Yeah, I just think I think you can't win without good top four D. At least at league average, and the Oilers weren't close to that last year. Again, mainly due to injury, and it was worrisome at the start of this year because Klefbom and Larsson, the first couple games were a little bit iffy, and then Benning was just really struggling. And finally, Russell moves in there, it stabilizes it, and good to go. So my number, Bruce, is also related to the demon. It was Adam Larsson's time on ice tonight, which was 23 minutes, 26 seconds, 20 minutes at even strength. Bruce, I thought maybe his best game since 2016-17. He's moving really well, making good plays with the puck. He's so solid defensively. He's that defenseman that we saw in 2016-17 that had people thinking, yeah, this guy, the Oilers finally have someone who can kind of get the job done on the right side in the top pairing. I think you said last podcast, like after Larsson is there's nothing, right? Like it's just, I mean, there's Benning and there's Bouchard and you have to move Russell over. But man, he is an extremely valuable piece on this team. He's playing really well. And I just hope, and again, I'm hoping that for good health for both Klefbom and Larsson this year, because it's a key to the Oilers winning. And it's just fun to watch. It's starting to get fun to watch those two guys play together. They're really smart and they're playing very effective hockey.
He gritted it out today with that full shield on, and I didn't notice any downturn in his competitiveness and his going into the course. Maybe he took the body a little bit less, but he still had a couple of hits. But he's shown a little more moxie with the puck. And on his side of the ice, Klefbom is showing a little bit more determination and puck battle sense. And maybe somebody on one of those sites said that they're like the old married couple that start to look like each other after a while. They start finishing each other's sentences and stuff, right? And they're maybe picking up a good thing or two from one another. And Larsson's involvement offensively is an encouraging sign. He's moving the puck, but he's also getting involved in the offensive zone.
What a relief to see that, because we were hoping we would see that day one last year, right after their strong performance in the playoffs, and it just never came about. I don't know if they had any real strong games together last year. Maybe I'm not remembering it correctly, but I don't remember them ever being very good together. Maybe game one when they whipped Calgary, but Bruce, this is a really good sign for the Oilers.
Klefbom was hurt all year, and he missed time 3 different times. He was out of the lineup, but he was never 100%. And this year, like today, he played 25 minutes and 56 seconds, and it was his least amount of ice time in the last 6 games. He's had 2 games over 30 minutes, another one over 28. He's really munching the big time minutes, and to do it on back-to-back days like that, that's a lot of mileage in a short time. So the Swedes, I mean, what's not to like about Swedish defensemen, right? And we got 2 of them. So It's a good place to start building your defense core.
And I see Lagesson's putting up the points in the American Hockey League right now too. So maybe we got another one coming.
Very promising, William Lagesson.
Alrighty, Bruce. Let's leave it there for tonight. It's getting super late.
Yeah.
We'll talk again after the next game. So thanks.
Yeah. Thanks for listening, everyone.
And in the meantime, and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.